guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about a cryptid. We all love our cryptids, whether it be Mothman, Sasquatch, whatever type of creature you want to go with. Today I'm going to be talking about a Wisconsin-specific one that is, very weird. Now, Sasquatch is like a humanoid monkey man. Now, that is more believable than the creature I'm talking about today, which is known as the Hodag. The Hodag originates in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and they take that very seriously because it is literally everywhere. It started in 1893. Eugene Shepard, a respected timber cruiser, stumbles into a logging camp and begins telling a crazy tale of a creature he had encountered. Spikes all the way down its entire length of its body with a fistful of needle-sharp pointed spears at the end of his tail. Fangs that would rival a saber-toothed tiger could rip out the belly of the biggest bear. Newspapers reported the discovery of the Hodag, and articles described the beast as having the head of a frog, the grinning face of a giant elephant, thick short legs set off by huge claws, the back of a dinosaur, and a long tail with spears at the end. According to folklorist Charles E. Brown, he describes it as the ferocious beast had horns on its head, large bulging eyes, terrible horns and claws. A line of large sharp spikes ran down the ridge of its back and long tail. The Hodag never laid down. It slept leaning against the trunks of trees. It could only be captured by cutting deeply into the trunks of its favorite trees. It was said to eat mud turtles, water snakes, and muskrats, and it did not disdain from human flesh. It's fun. It's a fun-looking creature. It's a mixture of so many different things. It's a chimera, or I don't even know if this would be considered chimera because there's so many pieces. It's part dinosaur, part frog. Supposedly it's got the smile of an elephant. Whatever the hell that means. It's got razor sharp spikes going down its back. It's creepy. It's a creepy creature. Gene led a group into the woods to try and capture the beast. He described how the beast tore apart their hunting dogs and how they tried to spray the beast with water guns filled with poisonous liquid. I don't know what he meant by that. What is he shooting out of him? It did absolutely nothing. So they decided to come back and blow the creature up with dynamite, because why not, and returned with the charred remains. A photograph of the reenacted kill was published widely. He's known to be a prankster, so why anyone believed this, I do not know. When he had a creditor knock on his door, he'd stuff a bar of soap into his mouth so it looked like he was foaming, and he would go to the door and start snarling and making weird noises to scare the creditor off to make him think that he had rabies. Well, hey, it gets you out of it, I guess. Usually these gags were obviously gags, and they would last a short time before people figured out what he was doing. But the Hodag story was different. He just continually kept telling people that it was real and that it actually happened. He claimed to have captured another one 3 years later in 1896. According to his report, he and several bear rustlers placed chloroform on the end of a long pole and worked it into the cave of the creature where it was overcome by chloroform. He displayed this Hodag at the first Oneida County Fair. Thousands of people came to see the Hodag at the fair, at his display, or in his home. People came from all over to see it. Gene would have a nice suit of clothes on and would disappear from sight, saying that he was going to get the creature. The commotion would then lead to a horrendous growling and snarling and snapping and breaking, and he would return with his suit torn to shreds like the beast had attacked him. In reality, with the help of a wood carver named Luke Kearney, he created the Hodag out of wood. He carved it, or had help carving it. And then he took extras from the tanning factory and covered it so it smelled bad because they were, rotting. He took cattle horns and placed it on the back. He decorated it all up, and he even added wires so it would be able to move its head. The creature he created was 7 feet long and 30 inches high, black and hairy. And what he did, because obviously if you saw that up close you'd know it's fake, he would have it in a dark tent so you couldn't see very well. And most people, once it started making noises and moving, they got scared and they left. Visitors to the exhibit were even told that the Hodag ate only white bulldogs on Sundays. What? He earned up to $500 in a weekend, which means up to 5,000 people viewed the creature for a dime apiece. Nice. As newspapers locally, statewide, and nationwide picked up the story of the creature, people started thinking, that's interesting. So scientists from DC asked if they could come examine the creature, and this is when he decided to admit it was a hoax and that he was lying. But he kept it up for a few years before they decided that they were going to investigate this once it started getting famous and out there. In the 1800s, Rhinelander was a pioneer logging town, and loggers who worked in the Northwoods would tell stories of a monster roaming the forests. Legends said that the Hodag was the reincarnated spirit of the sturdy, hard-working oxen that dragged logs from the forest. How you get from oxen to that thing, I don't know. However, the Hodag story might even predate the Northwoods logging days. Some historians have suggested that the Hodag strongly resembles pictographs found near Lake Superior that depict the Mississippi, which is an Ojibwe water panther. So it's possible that he was inspired by this, or it's a coincidence that his creature that he decided to make up and con people out of their money with looked like the creature. Now the big question we're all having is, why would Eugene do this? Money? Most likely. At age 16, Gene caught a break and began to work in the Northwoods as an apprentice to a New London timber cruiser. So timber cruising, or land looking, it was a profession that assessed tracts of forested property to see what kind of lumber they could get from the trees. Around 1882, Rhinelander was opening up for timber development, and Shepard moved there and essentially made it his hometown for the rest of his life. As a timber cruiser, Gene spent many days and nights alone or with a small team deep inside the forests of Wisconsin. But he just as often bunked in timber camps where men, other poor immigrants from European countries, who cut the trees to be milled into boards. Part of the lumber camp culture was telling stories around the campfire. It was storytelling. There were no radios or TVs at this time, so you told stories. Folklore tends to develop among people who are relatively isolated. When you have a group of people isolated from the rest of society for months at a time, they will generally get to talking. A similar phenomenon occurred in the U.S. military. Musicians would play their instruments, someone would play cards, and a lot of them would tell stories, often bringing them tales and myths from the countries they originate from. Sometimes the stories would be a group effort, with the men taking turns and trying to outdo the other. It was a thrill. It was supposed to scare. It was to amuse and absorb. Gene could leave an audience on the edge of their seats from suspense or falling out of their chairs with laughter. The stories that are most remembered about Gene today are revolving around this: his outgoing nature, his humor, his pranks, his inventive personality. But he wasn't just that. He did have his demons, especially how he treated his wife and his kids. He was married 2 times. His first wife, Mildred Shepard, alleged that Eugene had abused her. According to records, quoted that Eugene becomes violent and reckless in actions and language. Shepard remarried a young woman, Kateria Gunderson, or Carrie, on a 3-day drunk binge in Green Bay. He's a cool guy. Just a few weeks after his divorce from his first wife. This relationship also didn't last very long, and the two separated but did not actually divorce. He was showing signs of dementia toward the end of his life, as well as being physically weak. He was a hard drinker for years. I think he had some demons he had to quell. His highs were really high and his lows were really low. He was alone and isolated from his family when he died of chronic nephritis, or inflammation of the kidneys that ultimately led to his demise, probably from his drinking problem, on March 26, 1923. He was 69 years old. Now, around the time of his death, no one really embraced his story. After it was found out he was a hoax, I think he became more isolated from that. People didn't take it very kindly, and they didn't really accept the Hodag. It kind of just died out. However, that didn't last very long. By the 1930s, less than 10 years or so after he died, Rhinelander High School's mascot became the Hodag. Eugene's grand hoax gradually became a Wisconsin legend, and his reputation as an eccentric, fun-loving Northwoodsman took hold, rather than his true self. That was part of him, but it wasn't all of him. Shepard knew the Hodag was important. Thousands of people came to view the Hodag, and not one of them went away without having learned a little more about North Wisconsin. And many who came out of curiosity only have come to make their home with us, either permanent or for a few weeks or months out of the year. Long live the Hodag. So even though part of him was doing it as a practical joke, another part was doing it for money, I think in the end he was also doing it to bring people to Wisconsin. Because of the Hodag, some people decided to move there. If not, stay in the area for a while. They learned more about this area and how beautiful it can be. So they decided to live there or visit for a time. The Hodag has become a ginormous part of Rhinelander, as I saw when I took my own little adventure to the city. They have a ginormous Hodag statue in front of a community building, committee building. It's giant. We're gonna hang out with my best friend. Oh, let's hug it out, bro. Let's hug it out. Should take some selfies. Alongside the statue, they have a gift shop for the Hodag. It's covered in Hodag merch. Sadly, when I arrived, it was closed. It's only open on weekends. So if you're near Rhinelander on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you could get yourself some Hodag merch. On the water tower for Rhinelander is another Hodag. The high school mascot is a Hodag. I drove past another school and they had a Hodag statue in front of the building. And they have this thing known as the Hodag Dome, which looks like a ginormous pillow. It is like a sports arena thing. It's got tennis, it's got football. It's like every sport you could think of is inside this thing. It's 128,000 square feet of space. It is like the largest blow-up area thing in the nation. I don't know why they decided they needed that, if they could have just like built a fence and made it outside. I don't know. I did go up and poke it because I was curious. It is squishy. They really went into the Hodag after Eugene died. It became like Rhinelander's personality. It is on literally everything. Gift shop, statues, school mascots. It's on the water tower. They have a giant pillow thing with a Hodag on the side. Rhinelander's become the home of the Hodag. Their ice arena has 2 Hodags in it. One is a full-body Hodag in the entrance, and the other is an oversized head that blows smoke and has red eyes. A lot of towns go into their cryptids, whether it be Mothman, Sasquatch, whatever you want to have as your cryptid, they really go to town with it, and Rhinelander is no different. They have accepted the Hodag as one of their own. It is the home of the Hodag. And if you don't know what the Hodag is, go to Rhinelander. You'll know what it is in about 5 seconds because it's everywhere. You'll know what it looks like. The Hodag is a very interesting creature, especially because it came from a hoax. Some cryptids come from sightings where people truly believe they saw it, or they think they found evidence, or, there's bits and pieces. This is entirely a hoax. The guy admitted that he faked the whole thing, but people still really enjoyed the story of the creature, so here we are. Rhinelander is a very interesting town. It is, it's not a ginormous town, and a lot of people go there for the summer, like Minocqua and Tomahawk. It's higher up in Wisconsin where a lot of people go camping, so during the winter months, when I went, there wasn't as many people as there would be during the summer, but I enjoyed my little adventure. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you would like to hear more about cryptids in Wisconsin or cryptids in general, I definitely can help you with that. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be back again on Thursday with another True Crime Thursday and Monday with whatever I decide to post. Alright guys, I'll see you later.